One of the most exciting weeks of the year for Tesla shareholders is here. The first week of November, including the November 6th annual shareholder meeting, where Elon's compensation package that will be valid over probably the next 5 years, because by then he will hit the entire targets, in my opinion, will be decided. And with that, a huge new phase of Tesla. It will launch Tesla into the age of sustainable abundance, the new mission, according to the new piece of the master plan, where Tesla transitions from a car company and energy company into one that aspires to create abundance for everyone through robots, extreme AI, and of course, autonomous transport. And very recently we learned, maybe even flying cars. As we see, this week starts bullish for Tesla, with the stock being up 3%, another 3% after being up more than 3% on Friday. And today, we're just gonna go deep into the potential reasons for that and review what's happening this important week with the stock and what my strategy is. And we will also preview a bunch of other videos coming out this week where we cover the key components of this great transition and the next steps for Tesla. So as you see, 470 up a lot. If we look at up here, the markets, they're actually not up that much. Nasdaq up 0.43%, the S&P 0.59%, 0.059% I meant, and the Dow Jones 0.45%. So this is not a market reaction. This has something to do with Tesla. And when we look at the facts, what is happening? There are lots of reasons. And the main reason is that Elon went on air on Friday and was all over the internet with an enormous 4.5 hour in total in 2 interviews. One being the All In podcast, the world's best, most exciting business, economics, and investment podcast with the besties. You all know them probably. If not, definitely subscribe with the All In podcast. Of course, even more important, subscribe to this channel in case you didn't. But the All In podcast had Elon on and interviewed him on all kinds of things, and he revealed a lot of stuff. And in addition to that, he was on for, I think, 3.5 hours or something crazy with Joe Rogan. And they had a tremendous conversation. And I'm just going to give you a quick summary of the most important insights we have. And some of them are mind-boggling. I covered that in a video last week, and we will look into all of that in more detail this week. This is just to give you a big overview why the stock probably is up and what it all means going forward this week. First of all, Elon mentioned the Robotaxi safety drivers will be removed in Austin, in a few Robotaxis at least, by the end of the year. My prediction was November. Elon basically implied it's going to be November or December, probably more December than November. I said it in, I think, July, that I think it's going to be November. This is a very important piece of the equation, an important piece in the trajectory towards an autonomous future, where we have cars driving around without drivers and actually transporting humans everywhere like little robots. And that will happen in Austin. And why is it so important? Because for anyone who's still a doubter that Tesla has cracked the code for complete autonomous vehicles, and if that's true, it will be a tremendous revolution for everyone on Earth in terms of transport and cars and car ownership and Uber and taxis and buses and everything will turn into robotaxis very quickly once we cross that Rubicon. Hey, creating these videos is a lot of work. Please like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. Now let's get back to the video. The removal of these safety drivers is very important because it will demonstrate to the world there is actually Teslas driving around in Austin, Texas. That's where it's going to happen this year. And then very quickly in California too. These Teslas will not have a safety driver. Right now, they have someone sitting on the passenger seat with a little button where they can intervene in case something happens. Mostly or nearly never they intervene, but they were just their safety driver. So once they're removed, it becomes very obvious to everyone, even those who don't understand the technology and the progress we made, that clearly no one is in the car. And I think that will send a very strong signal into the stock market. Now, of course, now it's anticipated and the stock priced that in a little bit, but it is the first important driver of positive momentum for the stock. Then the next thing he revealed, and that was very important. As you all probably know, Tesla is planning to launch what is called the Cybercab next year in mass production. And the Cybercab, let me just pull it up here so you see how this thing looks like. The Tesla Cybercab is a tremendously exciting little car. It looks like this, right? And this car, what it does is that it basically is a self-driving car that originally, and we will get into this in more detail, has no steering wheel, as you see. Well, here it has a steering wheel, very interesting, but it is actually not supposed to have one. So in Tesla's demonstration of the Cybercab, here, you see it has no steering wheel. And so why is that so important? This car is designed in a way that makes it kind of not feasible for being a real consumer car that you can drive around. And that's a different discussion. We'll get into this in a different video. But the whole car is not designed for being a driver car. And if Elon reveals now, and that's exactly what he did, that the Cybercab will go into scaled production in Q3. I think he said Q2, but I'm not buying it. I think it's going to be Q3 in 2026. That is in 9 months, 9, 10, 11 months, whatever. That means the entire CapEx and very complicated production infrastructure is now being built out and committed and is already built out and now being refined to lead to mass production of a car that you can only launch if you have achieved Robotaxi full scalability. And to make it all sense for you, these Cybercabs will be produced at a rate of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands in 2027. So this is a scaled production car. And that informs us a little bit on what the real deployment strategy here is. If Robotaxi launches in Q2, Q3, or latest Q4 of next year, it becomes very clear that now Tesla is fully committed with capital expenditures and billions of dollars to actually scale Robotaxi operations in the United States and probably in other countries too next year. And why is it so important? Because we are now outside the realm of marketing claims, of Elon exaggeration claims. Once you go into CapEx on that scale, you cannot take it back. And you only do that when you have complete certainty that FSD and Robotaxi, autonomous transport at scale with no safety drivers and full regulatory approval, is guaranteed to happen. And that is why this is very bullish for the stock. Cybercab is very important because Cybercab locks in the CapEx and locks in the actual trajectory. Robotaxi talk, when it's model-wise, is cheap for Elon. Cybercab talk is not cheap. It is very expensive. And Elon would not do that if he wouldn't know what they spent and had to commit to this. So that means the confidence in FSD being scalable by Q3 next year is extreme. I would say 100%. Which means they're basically convinced that FSD is solved now. The next quarter is just going to be a refinement in Q1. And in Q2, it's ready to completely scale. Then there's some buffer I built in. That's why I'm saying Q3. And if that is true, by the way, to give you a sense, if you deploy 50,000, 45,000 Cybercabs commercially, the free cash flow of Tesla, of the entire company, doubles. If you deploy 90,000, it triples, and so on and so forth. The total addressable market of Cybercab and autonomy is estimated into the hundreds of millions of these cars. So at the second where this starts scaling, and at the second it becomes clear they can scale, it just works, the stock will get repriced in the most massive way imaginable outside Optimus. Okay, so that is very bullish, and we are going to go into that this week in a much more high resolution Cybercab scaling video where we look at the details. But that's the takeaway here. Reason number 2. Reason number 3, totally different dimension of assessment. Elon was very happy and relaxed. Think about this. The richest man in the world who's very busy building rockets, building robotics, building AGI with XAI, building Neuralink, building all kinds of things, running X, and of course, launching FSD, goes on air with Joe Rogan and the All In podcast for 4.5 hours. So 5 hours of his day on Thursday, probably Thursday, maybe Wednesday last week, was committed to this kind of stuff. That leads some people, including myself, to the conclusion that the comp package is solved. If Elon would, they know the results, right? They see the results and they're probably shared with Elon. the board. So they see if the comp package, what the status is. If Elon had any doubts if this comp package gets approved, because if it doesn't get approved, Elon would effectively step down. He would step out of this whole thing. We would be all toast. Tesla would drop 20, 30, 40, 50%, and everyone can go home and loses their money, which is why it's so stupid to even think that people vote against this. But still, you never know. So the fact that Elon is so happy and relaxed is a very strong signal that the comp package is approved. And if the comp package is approved, this is just the ultimate bullish signal, because the comp package, in a nutshell, looks like this. Elon creates $8.5 trillion in market cap, or creates an additional 7 trillion from 1.5 trillion currently in market cap for Tesla, and in return gets $1 trillion in stock. It's a pretty reasonable deal. The trillion, of course, sounds a little unreasonable. But when you do the math, I mean, sure, are you going to pay someone 15% of what he creates for you? So you as a shareholder get an appreciation of 600% or something, 700%, 600% up. Your stock is up 600%. Are you going to give Elon 15% of that and keep the other 85%? Of course you will. So the fact that Elon is so relaxed, goes on air and does all that stuff is kind of the ultimate final indicator that the comp package has passed. Of course, you never know exactly, but I mean, it's just very obvious. And now my favorite topic. Elon also talked about the Roadster. In case you didn't know, the Roadster is Tesla's flagship car. It is how the company started. It's another thing I want you to think about. The Tesla Roadster was produced originally only with, I think, 100 units, handmade. It was the first car of Tesla, and it launched Tesla into existence. It was back in the day in 2002 or whatever it was, and 2003, 4, when they became available, and was the great, great bet of Tesla and Elon back then, that you could use laptop batteries, a totally much more advanced battery type than previous car batteries, and create the world's first real electric car. And he did that through prototyping a Roadster. It's a cool thing. That was, of course, not perfect and very expensive, $200,000, I think, back then, and drove pretty nicely, but was handmade and had all kinds of little issues. But no one cared. The first 1,800 people who bought this Roadster went down in history in launching Tesla from a consumer tribe perspective. So in my opinion, it is only historically interesting and logical that this new Tesla Roadster that they're launching now will be of similar importance. And I'm probably the only one right now. I'm the only person in the whole Tesla community and outside of it who thinks this is real. And the reason I think this is real and the Roadster will maybe go down as even more important than the first Roadster. And you have to understand, I'm taking a lot of risks here because I sound crazy, but I don't think I'm crazy. I think this new Roadster that was presented to the public, I think 7 years ago or something crazy, as the world's fastest car, 1.9 seconds and stuff like that, and then got delayed and delayed and delayed. And we never heard of it again until recently. And during all this wait time, I was thinking, what is Tesla doing? Why is this Roadster so delayed? Why is the Roadster so delayed? Why are they not just launching this thing and make it very fast and stuff? And then I thought more like, yeah, because that would be extremely lame. And Elon doesn't like lame stuff. I don't like lame stuff. It's just super lame to launch a supercar. Supercars are boring. I never was interested in supercars. They're just mega boring and unimaginative. Like, oh, the whatever, Chiron, Bugatti and stuff like that. Like, who cares? This is like, what's next? Like a golden horse carriage or something. It's like, I don't care. This is low tech. So, and I think Elon thinks the same thing. And then I think 3 years ago or something, I think he hinted at some things already back then. And I was thinking like, what would be the coolest possible pivot here? And of course, it's flying cars. I said it very early on. It's like, you know what? If I was Elon and this thing was delayed like this, I would not launch a normal car. This is just bad. It's boring. And what is the next generation of cars? Even though Elon said that's not the case back then, but I said it. I said like, look, it's very clear on a first principle level, all cars will be flying cars. There is just no possible future where they're not flying because this is just stupid to not let them fly. Being on the ground and going all these curved roads and never going straight and being slow and all these stupid things, needing roads, spending trillions and stupid like stuff you put into the ground. Why? Why not fly? So it is very clear that all cars will be flying. And I think a lot of people on X disagree with me on that, but you're just totally wrong on this. Like, are you stupid? Like, what do you think? Who drives on wheels on the ground if you can avoid it. No one. Not a single person would do that. You would look so stupid to more advanced humans. So clearly all cars will be flying in the future. The question is, when is that future? Is that in 100 years or 200 years? Or is it in 50 years? Or in 40 years? Or in 30 or 20 or in 10? And when I was connecting these dots, I always was convinced we are only one innovation away, which is a battery density innovation, to have flying cars. And that innovation is 400 kilowatt hours, 400 watt hours density, I think, per kilogram. And Elon confirmed that in 2020. He said, yeah, if you cross that thing, flying cars become feasible. And guess what? We have crossed that thing now in very advanced batteries that are mass produced. So I was speculating on this, and I actually told all of you guys, I think there's a 10% chance that the Roadster will fly. And literally, that the Roadster that will be demoed this year, like in the next 2 months, or maybe in the next 4 months if it gets delayed. I told everyone, and everyone thought I'm completely crazy. This thing has a 10% chance of flying. That's why I would never, even if I think the stock goes sideways, short Tesla or anything like that. And literally within 24 hours, Elon came out on the podcast, or 48 hours, whatever, and literally confirmed, yes, the Roadster will be flying. So for most people, they didn't take it seriously. I think Elon's just completely nuts. He's talking stuff and it doesn't make any sense again. But for me, you can imagine, I just predicted there's a 10% chance. Now I'm saying there's a 100% chance. This thing will be flying. And I think what no one right now, except for me and some of you guys who saw the video, no one takes that seriously right now as a business opportunity. I think people now get around slowly. It's like, yeah, maybe it will like fly somehow, but it will be a gimmick. It will be a party trick. It will have zero impact on the stock, and it will have zero impact on discounted cash flow models of Tesla. Of course, that's what everyone thinks. There's one exception, me. I think it will have the most dramatic impact on discounted cash flow of Tesla ever. And I think the timing for that is before 2040 at scale. You're talking tens of millions or hundreds of millions of these things. And I think Elon knows it, and Elon plans it. And I put an over 50% chance bet that the Roadster is a serious first step into that direction. As serious as the original Roadster, and on a very similar timeline. Because roughly 9 years after the original Roadster was demoed, 9 to 10 years, we had the Model S. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen with flying cars. That's why I never bet against Elon, because if that is true, then over the next 2 or 3 years, people, or maybe even in the next 1 year, people will come around to the Joe analysis and say, okay, maybe Joe's crazy and Elon is even crazier. But if that is true, how much money can you make selling every human on Earth or converting a 200, 300 million Robotaxi infrastructure then into a flying car infrastructure? How much money is this worth? I think a lot. Okay, and finally, 2 macro things, or like one China thing and another China thing, not both macro. Enough of the flying car talk. We have another video on that coming out this week, or next week, where I lie this out. But here's another thing. Also over the weekend, AJ, the best auto analyst on X, he published this thing. And what you see is that the Model Y is again number 1 in China, daily engagements. Model Y is number 1 in China on the daily engagement scale, but you see that Model 3 is also now number 2, up from here number 7, here number 11, and so on. And here, this is daily, 2nd November, 20th September. You see what actually happened. So how the Model 3 now, boom, and so Tesla is dominating the entire Chinese EV market. And with that, the entire Chinese auto market. In case you didn't notice, Tesla is by far the strongest car brand in China. And so that's confirmed again. The top 2 cars in China are the 2 Teslas. And of course, that's a bullish thing. And then finally, over the weekend, we also had the Trump deal with China. It didn't move the markets too much, so I don't think this is a big driver of the stock, but it's of course positive, where President Trump was able to make President Xi postpone the entire rare earth situation, which was extremely important for Tesla, by the way. This is about electric motors and magnets and Optimus and all kinds of things. So this is now delayed for a year. There are some American concessions, of course. Both sides have to do some concessions. And so this is all pretty exciting. So they met. Everything is fine. This week in the Republic of Korea, President J. Trump reached a trade and economic deal with President Xi Jinping of China. Massive victory that safeguards U.S. economic strength and national security while putting American workers, farmers, and families first. Sure. Of course, she would say they put the Chinese first, but it's a great deal. And basically China will suspend the implementation of the expansive new export controls. So we will have our rare earths everywhere. China will issue general licenses for all these rare earth things for the benefit of US end users. So there's no problem anymore. You just get these rare earths. And China suspends all the retaliatory tariffs, and the US also suspends the retaliatory tariffs, not the base tariffs. And so everyone is happy, and it's peace on earth, and innovation continues. So what is the bottom line here? Why is the stock up? We have bullish times. We have November 6th coming up. Elon is in a good mood, signals very strongly the comp package is going to pass on Thursday this week. Q4 is shaping now up as a beautifully strong quarter for the entire market. There can be hiccups, but I think we are going to be up 5% or more on the market until year end, which means Tesla can go up another 40, 50 points just going with the market. If it has more alpha on it, that can happen too. And I also see the so-called confidence bridge strengthening. Confidence bridge means we know Tesla has to go to 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, and so on in short order. I will have a video on this, by the way, this week or early next week on my updated Tesla model and price model, where I show you guys what I changed in that model for the next 12 months, 12 to 15 months, end of next year. There is one significant change. And surprisingly, it's not on substance because all my predictions just got cemented. So I'm sticking pretty much exactly to what I said. But there is an important update that is very, very impactful on our trading strategy. And that has to do with this confidence bridge, which is if the stock goes up above maybe what it should be, how does it bridge into the forcing function that comes after? And will it drop like a stone, or will it keep up there until reality catches up? And that will inform the exact price targets. The price targets, not the fair value targets. The fair value targets remain exactly the same. The true intrinsic value of the stock has not changed in my update, but my price target has. There's a big difference that I will explain in that video. So quickly on my position, since it's Monday and we do a little trading insight. So what do I do based on all this information? Tactically short term, as you know, after earnings, I got a little concerned, and I was also happy with my performance, which was tremendously outperforming Tesla on portfolio level since April, because I doubled down, shifted stocks into leaps. And so I decided, okay, I've had it. That's good. I achieved my goal to outperform Tesla and took advantage of the April-May weakness. So I had an exposure of roughly 2.1x. If you don't know what that means, if you're a wealth advisor and you're into huge diversification, don't listen to this. Otherwise, you have to, you will get a panic attack. But I was at 2.1x of my stock portfolio in terms of Tesla. What does it mean? It means if Tesla goes up 10%, my entire portfolio goes up 21%. So in other words, I was like much more than 100% exposed to Tesla. So since I was happy after earnings and now see some kind of flattening out of this momentum, I could be wrong. I'm still extremely bullish, of course, but I don't want to be 2.1x exposed. I dialed it back by rolling over half of the leaps back, to 1.4x, which is still pretty extreme, right? So that means if Tesla goes up 10%, my entire portfolio goes up 14%. So it's not that I'm bearish or anything. But then the flying car thing came. I was like, dudes, this is crazy. And I'm the only one probably right now who understands what that potentially means. Not guaranteed, but with a 50% chance that they will have flying cars. Like, I know everyone thinks Joe is crazy, but this is not a facade. They're going to sell the wheel with a Robotaxi. What I think sounds much crazier, but makes actually a lot of sense. So I went actually back in and was like, dudes, this is crazy. If they really do that and people start to understand what's happening here, this is like completely insane. We're talking about tens of trillions in additional margin and much more in revenue. If Tesla actually pulls off the whole flying car situation, it's not going to be short term, right? There's regulatory issues, huge regulatory issues. I also know how they would exactly do all that stuff, by the way. So I have a very good first principle plan that I will present. But just the fact that I got confirmed by Elon so directly on video, it's like, dudes, I need to, this is like crazy. This is crazy. And this will, I mean, just a 50% chance that this is real is insane. So I went back in, which was good for today. And I also tactically initiated a small short call for Friday this week at 490 and another one at 500. So basically I sold some small amount of calls just for fun. Because if it actually goes to 490 or 500, I'm so happy. I'm so loaded that I don't mind losing a little money on the calls. And it's not likely it goes there, in my opinion. And I always like to make a little bit of money when Tesla does not rally. Because it's like makes me happy. Makes me happy to make money when I don't make money, if that makes sense, right? So you're in Tesla, you're super bull, and you get disappointed because the stock goes down. I mean, there's a very reasonable chance that we end up, this week rallying maybe into 488 or something, into that thing, and then it drops back down. So I will see what I do on Thursday, probably remove some of the exposure, but I think this is a pretty good call on a just probabilistic level, selling a call, especially the 500 call. Very likely I make a little bit of money on this. Always good. But don't go too crazy on short calls with Tesla because you can get also burned. So that's kind of my position. That's what's happening. This was a great start in the week. I hope you enjoyed that. We have a lot of cool videos coming up this week and next week. We go into Robotaxi scaling. We go into Cybercab production planning. And we go into the flying car topic. I will outline the first principles of the flying car industry and how it all will shape out to be. And the things I am 100% sure that I can guarantee you will happen on the flying car side. And then probabilistically, Bayesian layers, what is likely to happen with the Roadster, what's likely to happen with Tesla, and what are potential scenarios on timing. Not going into the financials yet, it's too early for that, but believe me, if you sell a billion flying cars, you will make some money. Okay, I hope that was interesting. Stay tuned, subscribe, go to pioneerlands.net. We have some revolutionary things happening. Well, this week we will actually launch something in Pioneerlands. Actually, a lot. We will relaunch the Pioneer Academy, where you can learn everything about the future of AGI and how we survive and thrive. We will create a Pioneer Academy Lite, by the way, that will be freely accessible. And then we have something very cool happening probably next week. So go to pioneerlands.net, very important. And I hope that was interesting and see you very soon.